Israel encountered a barrage of drone attacks from Iran over the weekend, 350 to be exact. Unprovoked? No. Israel attacked an Iranian consulate in Syria a few weeks ago. However, assigning blame is not the point of this podcast episode. While the fools in charge want us to take sides, the division will only distract us from what's really happening. We are being guided straight into World War III. Are you pro-Palestinian, pro-Israel, or perhaps you're still binging the other war? Are you pro-Russia, pro-Ukrainian? It doesn't matter because soon the teams will be much more clearly defined. Pretty soon you'll be on one of two teams, the Allied powers or the Axis powers. Yeah, the Iron Dome videos sure look scary. They light up the Israeli sky and our social media feeds. But it tends to be something that we shrug off and see as something that only happens to other people in other countries. But if things go as experts believe, those bombs might be falling a little bit closer to home, and your kids might be serving in the next World War. Let's take a look at some of these red flags. The British Defense Secretary Grant Shapps recently said that the country should prepare for a war with China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea in the next 5 years. But here's the part that will leave you slack-jawed. If the UK and US, which are allies, tried to take on those 4 other countries, there would be 8 enemy troops to every British or American soldier. Think Secretary Shapps is alone in his concern for World War III? A German newspaper recently leaked documents that show that Europe is preparing for Russian President Vladimir Putin to go beyond Ukraine and attack NATO ally countries as early as next year. Now, Russia is reportedly preparing for a military confrontation with the West within the next decade. That's according to Estonia's Foreign Intelligence Service. And we've all been watching the powder keg situation that is Israel and Palestine. That's escalated from a retaliatory attack for October 7th to what many fear is a burgeoning regional war. Israel has attacked Hezbollah in Lebanon. The U.S. has funded Israel's assault on Palestinians and the carpet bombing of Gaza. A U.S. base was hit in Jordan by the Islamic resistance in Iran. The Houthis from Yemen have been attacking ships in the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean. Let's not forget that Biden released $6 billion in Iranian assets frozen in a South Korean bank to get the release of 5 American hostages, money that likely flowed to Hamas and helped them orchestrate October 7th in the first place. Our hands are dirty and our pockets. Israel gets billions of dollars of funding from the U.S. and loads of weapons. Every time they drop a bomb, we're culpable too. That puts the U.S. center stage in this genocide against Gaza and in whatever regional war Israel feels like ginning up now. Biden can call Netanyahu all he wants and ask him not to retaliate against Iran for now. But the genie is out of the bottle. Biden enabled his siege on Gaza. He turned a blind eye to it because of his Zionism. So everyone shouldn't be so shocked. You can't build the Death Star and then be shocked when Darth Vader steps in to rule. Netanyahu will do what he wants, and we're already billions of dollars deep in bombs and thousands of dead Palestinian women and children to be coy about it now. It's on, and we're in the middle, whether we like it or not. So will this growing regional war go beyond a nasty sand fight in the Middle East to World War III? Well, it's not just isolated countries that are tweaking out over some extreme circumstances. NATO is currently conducting Steadfast Defender 2024. This is the largest military exercise in Europe since the Cold War. The exercise will include 90,000 troops from all 31 NATO allies, including partner country Sweden. It will be a multi-domain exercise incorporating land, air, sea, cyber, and space operations. According to NATO, this exercise was, quote, planned years in advance and used a fictitious scenario aimed at enhancing the alliance's collective defense. Exercises serve the dual purpose of refining defense plans as well as acting as a deterrent against potential aggression from near-peer adversaries. Yikes! NATO also says that, quote, Steadfast Defender 2024 marks a historic moment for NATO, showcasing transatlantic unity, strength, and determination in the face of evolving security challenges. As tensions persist in Eastern Europe, this exercise sends a clear message that NATO is prepared to defend its members, its values, and uphold collective security in the Euro-Atlantic area. Okay, but here's the best part. Not only would we be outnumbered 8-1 in a world war with Russia, North Korea, China, and Iran, but the United States would have a hard time fighting a war on even a much smaller scale. Overall, the military in the U.S. has struggled for several years to meet recruitment goals. In fact, the Army missed its goal by 15,000 recruits just last year. Even worse, less than a quarter of Americans aged 17 to 24 are even eligible to join, be it from health issues, mental illness, being too fat, or being too stupid. In fact, recruitment is so dire the Navy is waiving the requirement to have a high school diploma or GED to enlist. This new plan will allow recruits to bypass the education credential if they can score a 50 on their qualification test. How desperate are they? Well, it's been more than 20 years since the Navy last relaxed this educational requirement. And to think, everyone gasped last week when it was leaked that Ukraine was recruiting the mentally challenged due to a lack of troops. Hello, we're taking high school dropouts. Even if you have a high school diploma, your intelligence is probably less than the mentally retarded. I mean, have you checked out our public schools recently? Here's another interesting fact. Only 9% of Americans who are eligible to serve are even inclined to enlist. But can you blame them? War has become nothing more than a mechanism for people like Nikki Haley and her neocon colleagues to get rich off of. Besides, what am I even fighting for? To hold on to my college debt for longer? Never own a house? Suffer in this horrible job market with low wages? Suffer through rising costs from inflation, or never own a house as a millennial? Nah, not for me. Your girl will be packing it up and heading to Mexico or Canada before my sweet derriere ever gets drafted. I'll be kicking back, watching a real-life Game of Thrones. Be sure to let me know who wins, and maybe I'll move back to the U.S. The Chinese military got that cool marge, and Russians have vodka, so the downfall might not be so bad. But let me just drop one more noodle nuke on you. We got an ammo shortage, like big time. President Biden came out and said it himself that we are running low on ammo in an interview with Fareed Zakaria on CNN last year. Take a listen.
They're running out of that ammunition, and we're low on it. And so what I finally did, took the recommendation of the Defense Department to not permanently, but to allow for, in this transition period where we get more 155 weapons, these shells for the Ukrainians, to provide them with something that has a very low dud rate. And it's not used in civilian areas. They're trying to get through those trenches and then stop those tanks from rolling. And so, but it was not an easy decision.
So what's my point? Well, I hope you have a helmet and a year's supply of canned chicken in your basement. But don't just believe me and the experts. If you're a religious person, then we are right on track for the apocalypse. As Matthew chapter 24, verses 6 through 8 says, quote, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains." Thanks for listening to Overnight Opinions. Be sure to tune in next Sunday night for an all-new episode. In the meantime, be sure to check out the Ladies Love Politics channel on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Ding.